You ever wake up one day and realize your whole life just did a complete 180, except it wasn't a dream and you're still stuck with the same old HOA president trying to ruin your morning? Yeah, that happened. I own a lake now. Not a pond, not some dinky little drainage ditch, an honest-to-God 12-acre lake smack in the middle of a 340-home subdivision. And the kicker, the woman who called the cops on me for fishing there, Brenda, queen of the clipboard, she's my tenant now. I still have to repeat that sometimes just to believe it. Now let me back up a sec, because this ride didn't start off wild. I'm Marcus Webb, 67, retired civil engineer, 40 years of drawing property lines, arguing with developers, and making sure folks didn't build houses on top of swamps. 3 years ago, I was just a regular guy who lost his wife Linda to cancer and tried to fill up the empty space with fishing. Silverbrook Estates sounded perfect. A little house with a porch facing the water, walking trails, birds at sunrise. Linda always said the lake made her feel peaceful. After she passed, that lake became my therapy every morning, out there in my cheap kayak watching the sun creep up and remembering how she'd laugh when the ducks tried to steal my bait. But this is a covenant-controlled community, which is just a fancy way of saying the HOA runs your life if you let them. Ours was run by Brenda Kowalski. Brenda's a real estate agent, 50-something, got the helmet hair and the permanent scowl and thinks property values matter more than people. She fined folks for a blade of grass being too tall, threatened legal action if your mailbox was glossy black instead of matte, and don't even get me started on parking overnight. So when I got the letter, $85 a month for lake maintenance retroactive to the day I moved in, my jaw hit the floor. $5,000 plus a $500 registration fee for my kayak, which wasn't worth half that. The letter had Brenda's signature right there. Turns out all my neighbors had been quietly paying for years. No one questioned it, just paid up and hoped Brenda would leave them alone. I'm not usually a fighter, but after dropping that chunk of change, I decided I was going to get my money's worth. Every single morning, rain or shine there, I was out on the lake just like Linda would have wanted. And that, my friend, is when Brenda made her big mistake. She put it in writing that she could revoke lake access for violations of community standards. She started watching me counting my fishing trips, peering through binoculars, probably wishing she could call in an airstrike. Late April, I'm out before sunrise, and here comes Brenda with 2 sheriff's deputies in tow. I recognized one Rita Flores from county meetings back in the day. Brenda's pointing at me like I just robbed a bank, yelling about trespassing and demanding I be removed. Deputy Flores looks at me, then at Brenda, trying not to roll her eyes. I explain, I paid the lake fee, got the receipt live right here. Deputy's like, sir, you aren't doing anything illegal, are you? Brenda's practically vibrating, telling them I need board approval to fish on her lake. Deputy just shrugs, tells her it's a civil matter, not criminal, and walks away. Next morning, there's a certified letter taped to my door, $2,500 for unauthorized watercraft. Another $2,500 for violating quiet hours. Quiet hours? At a lake surrounded by 340 homes, where the only thing louder than the geese is Brenda yelling. Then came the code violation. My lawn apparently was 3.2 inches high. Code allows 6. Guess who filed the complaint? Brenda, of course. At that point, most folks would have given up. Not me. I spent 4 decades reading plat maps, and I know bull when I smell it. I started poking around, and here's where the plot twist. Turns out nobody actually owned the lake. Not the county, not the HOA, nobody. It was abandoned land, never deeded over when the developer bailed in the early 90s. I checked with my old buddy Lenny, the county surveyor. He confirmed it. The original 1987 subdivision plat just had it marked reserved for future county use. Never transferred, never taxed, just sitting there like a forgotten wallet in the couch. Then I sat down with Clarice, a sharp attorney who owed me a favor. She read through the HOA rules, the demand letters, shook her head. If there's no deed and no easement, they're charging you for access to something they don't control. You could file a quiet title action and get the deed yourself. So I did. Filed the paperwork, paid $450, waited the 60 days. kept my mouth shut. The county said we don't want it. The HOA never even responded because the notice went to some abandoned office. On day 61, the judge handed me the deed. 12 acres appraised at $340,000. Just like that, it was mine. I went home, made a sandwich, and went fishing. Of course, Brenda didn't take long to notice. Next month, I get a letter, $5,000 fine, threats of liens, the whole shebang. I wrote a very short letter back, attached a copy of my deed. As of June 12, 2024, I own this property. Your fines are void. Any further harassment will be considered trespassing. I sent it certified mail, then sat back to watch the fireworks. The HOA had an emergency meeting. Brenda waved my letter around, accused me of fraud, hired the priciest lawyers in Tampa. I got a cease and desist letter full of legal threats, but Clarice just laughed. They've got no standing, Marcus. They can't sue you for owning property. Still, I knew Brenda wouldn't quit, so I got ready for war. Then came the harassment code violations for mailbox color, trash cans, porch lights. Everyone dismissed, but everyone took my time and energy. Brenda called a special assessment vote, $500 per house, to build a legal war chest. It passed. Next thing I know, the HOA's suing me for unjust enrichment. The claim that I'd used insider knowledge to steal the lake. My insurance wouldn't cover it, and Brenda figured I'd fold rather than burn through my retirement fighting her. That's when Janet, the HOA secretary, slipped me a folder, 3 years of meeting minutes, goldmine, inside payments to Brenda's husband's company, shady closed-door sessions, and this gem. We need to make an example of Mr. Webb to discourage future challenges to board authority. All in writing. I handed it to Deshaun Morris, an investigative blogger, and in 48 hours my story was everywhere. Reddit, TikTok, the local news. Headline: HOA president funneled $162K to husband's LLC while fining residents. It exploded. State Attorney General launched an investigation. Neighbors who'd avoided me for months started apologizing. The next HOA meeting had more people than I'd ever seen. Brenda got booted, 87% voted her out. Janet took over, apologized, and asked what I wanted. Honestly, I didn't want to be a landlord, but I also didn't want to turn the lake into some private club, so I gave them a deal, dropped the lawsuit, refund my fees, and I'd grant the HOA an easement for everyone to use the lake. But with real transparency, capped fees, my veto on any new quiet hours nonsense, and guaranteed access for all. And yeah, I got to fish whenever I wanted. Linda would have liked that part. That's not even the best part. 2 weeks later, at the formal easement signing, the state attorney general's office dropped the bomb: criminal charges against Brenda and her husband for misusing funds. IRS is on them for tax fraud. Brenda's face turned 3 shades of purple, stormed out, got caught on camera, and became an internet meme by nightfall. 3 weeks later, we had our first community day at Linda's Lake. Yeah, we renamed it for her. Food trucks, live music, 500 people, kids everywhere. I taught 43 kids how to fish that morning, showed them how to tie knots, how to tell a bluegill from a bass. By afternoon, the place felt more alive than it had in decades. And for the first time since Linda passed, I felt something like peace. We launched a youth fishing program, restored the shoreline with native plants, built an ADA-accessible dock. The HOA meetings are packed now. The budget is online for everyone to see, and folks actually talk to each other again. Turns out 3 other HOAs nearby had the same ownership issues. 2 are in the middle of their own quiet title actions. There's even a bill working through the legislature now called the Silverbrook Transparency Act to make sure no other HOA president can pull a Brenda. As for Brenda, she pleaded guilty, lost her license, owes over $100K in restitution, moved out of state at a loss. I don't feel victorious. Honestly, I feel lucky. If she hadn't pushed me, I'd still be out there alone, missing my wife, never meeting the neighbors, never teaching kids to fish. Now, most mornings you'll find me on the dock at Linda's Lake, coffee in hand, watching the sun rise through the mist. The rules apply to everyone, or they don't mean a damn thing. You know what I mean? Linda always said, don't get mad, get methodical. She was right. I got my peace, and so did my neighborhood. So let me ask you, if you're in an HOA, do you know who owns your common spaces? When's the last time you checked your board's budget or asked where your money goes? Share this story with someone who needs a little nudge to stand up for themselves, or drop a comment. If you've ever had to fight a Brenda in your life, the base are biting, the sun's up, and for once, I've got nothing to do but enjoy it. That's a good life. And if you stuck around for this whole story, well, you deserve some peace too. Hit that like, subscribe, and let's hear your wildest HOA story down below.